Welcome to Terminator HQ. My name is Wayne Harris, and these videos chronicle my efforts to restore the Terminator to its original 1985 condition. Today's a really special day because, believe it or not, it's my birthday and I get to spend it working on the Terminator. Now, in the previous episodes, we went through the audio system. You may recall there were a lot of problems. It seems like everything was broken. And now I believe I have everything from the dash backwards working. So now I'm about to delve into the amp rack, the rotating amp rack. This is going to be a lot of fun. And one of the things I'm going to need from you guys is some advice on how to make some changes to the amp rack. And I'll get into that in just a minute. So just keep in mind that this video is not just to show you what I'm looking for, but it's also to solicit some advice. So if you'll walk over here with me, the Terminator features a rotating amp rack. And the reason I came up with this implementation is I didn't have enough room to fit the amplifiers, the signal processors, and the power distribution. On this side of the amp rack, I have 6 Power 1000C amps. These are actually the prototype Power 1000Cs. And one of the interesting things about these amps is they started out as the original Power 1000s with the caboose. I cut that down, chrome plated the shroud, and I also designed a digital power meter, a bar graph power meter that shows the output level of each of the channels. Now for you old school guys, if you're a Rockford fanatic, old school, this is actually, believe it or not, the prototype PCB for these amplifiers and for all of the subsequent amps that we made at Rockford that use this type of technology. Now interestingly, if you look on the side here, and I did this on all of my PC boards, you'll see my initials, JWH, the year I did the board, 1989, and the rev level, rev 0. So rev 0 boards for me always indicated that the product was a prototype. Now, in addition to working on the car, one of the things I hope to achieve is I'd like to get your input on how to solve 2 significant problems I have with this amp rack. Number one is serviceability. Right now, this shroud is very difficult to remove. It's a piece of glass and it's attached to the amp rack with this aluminum trim bezel. To remove the bezel, I have to undo screws and then I have to remove the glass, which is a risky proposition in itself. It's very time consuming and difficult and risky. Number two, this side of the amp rack is much heavier because of those Power 1000s than the other side of the amp rack. So what happens is the amp rack is difficult to rotate. It tends to want to go face down with the amplifiers on the bottom. So what I'm looking for is suggestions. If you have an idea on how I can come up with a replaceable acrylic or glass shroud that's easy to remove, please leave me a comment. I'd like to know. And number two, the second issue is the weight issue. One of the things I was thinking of is if we do use glass, I could make the glass on the other side twice as thick, and that would help counterbalance the rotation. Or I could actually embed some lead bars on the back side. So if you have another idea, be sure and leave me in a post. So one of the questions that I get all the time about the amp rack is how am I able to rotate this without breaking the electrical connections? Some people think that I'm using wafers with contacts and wipers. It's nothing near that complex or esoteric. I'm just simply using wires that are folded 180 degrees and they just unroll or roll. The amp rack doesn't rotate 360 degrees. It only flips 180 degrees. You can see it's wanting to turn, and so I have to wedge that block of wood in there so that it doesn't rotate back. On the left-hand side is where the power cables come in. So I'm using double-aught welding cable. It comes in here, and then I have these 2 distribution bus bars. They're fuses for the amplifiers, and this is ground distribution down below. Now, normally I don't like to run a long ground cable, but in this particular case, I didn't really have an option. So normally you want to keep your ground wires as close, as short as possible. In this case, they're short, but they're not as short as I would like. In the center, I have my signal distribution. Now, interestingly, it looks like there's 3 Hafler crossover units in here. These are electronic crossovers. In reality, only the bottom one is an active crossover. These top 2 units are, I used the raw PC board with the RCAs as signal distribution because I thought it looked really nice. And I can tell because there's only a single power cable going into this unit. These 2 units do not have any power. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see that I have all of the speaker fuses. This is for the tweeters, the mids, the mid-bass driver, and the subwoofers. Now imagine if one of those fuses blew. I would have to remove the trim bezel and the glass just to replace the fuse. So that is really a challenge, and I need a solution that will fix this problem. Now, back to the rotation. If you look over here on the right-hand side, this is where all my signal and speaker leads come in and out. You can see that they're bundled, and as I rotate the amp rack, it's just a loop that just folds, it wraps and unwraps as I rotate the amp rack. You can see it wants to lay face down, and that's a problem. Real challenge to turn this. And now, I just came back from a fabrication seminar with Brian Schmidt, and one of the things we were talking about is, and we actually did this in class, we created these trim bezels for a subwoofer box that use neodymium magnets. And I was thinking, man, maybe that is a solution. Maybe I could come up with some kind of bezel that attaches to the amp rack using neodymium magnets. Now, I can make my way around the shop, but I am not the same caliber installer as the guys I was hanging out with. So when you give me suggestions, please make sure it's something that I can achieve without all this specialized fabrication equipment. So here's the plan for today, my birthday. I'm going to remove the bezel, I'm going to remove the glass, and I don't know how long that's going to take. Hopefully I don't break anything. And then we're going to come back and I'm going to take some video of actually what's going on in the signal processors. And hopefully I can find out what's going on. Now remember, some of the amps weren't playing. They were lighting up, but there was no audio coming out of my left channel mids and my left channel tweets. I don't know if it's the crossover. I don't know if it's the fuses. I don't know if it's the amplifier. And that's what we're going to try to figure out today. So in a little bit, we'll get back on it. I will be serious that this is making me really nervous. If I start to drop this, you need to run for the hills. I've already cleaned the glass, so hopefully I can get some good adhesion from these handles. Oh yeah. Now I've already loosened these screws here. I want to see if I can. So our first problem is, how in the heck did I get this in there? Let's do this.
Is it turned on its back?
Not good. To be honest, I don't know how I did it. Maybe I rotated the amp rack. Okay, let's take a breather. I mean, seriously, who in their freaking right mind uses plate glass? What was I thinking? I wasn't thinking. I was poor. That's what I was thinking. Damn. Maybe this amp rack, I must have slid it back. I'm gonna try sliding it and see if let me see if it moves. Okay, let me do this side. Watch out, that's very dangerous. Do not try this at home. Success. That's about the most idiotic thing I've ever seen. How in the hell was I expecting to be able to work on the system? And using, this is the same stuff you might find, this is plate glass window. If you even tap it, it will break. Insane. So, I wasn't always brilliant. Just joking. This was insane, and It looks like I made this amp rack where it will slide. More than likely, in order to work on the battery.
It's slipping down.
Whew, it didn't break. That's amazing. Good catch, Cease.
I didn't catch it.
Too bad it didn't break. That would have been... I need to pull this forward so I can get to the other side. Let me see if I can square this up. We're gonna see. Okay. It's definitely a lot easier to rotate without that glass on there. So a counterweight on the backside might do the trick. Anyway, here's what we got. Man, that was not fun. I now have access to the amps. Here's a trick. I use the shroud. This is like a, you know, I was a king of ozite. I hope Brian's not watching this. This is so primitive. Okay. This is trims out the amplifiers. I need to take a marker and write on this so I know which side is the top. I'll be right back. Okay. Got to remember where these pieces go. This is for the bottom, amp side, and this is obviously the top, so I'll just put amp on there. Man, I can't believe that didn't break. Jeez. I'll be back. Now we have to do the other side. I sure hope I don't have to take these amps off. You can see it's really tight. And what I did, there's actually there's a partition, a gap in between the panel that the amps are mounted on and the panel that the signal processors are mounted on. And then I have this, I think it's a 3/4 inch solid steel rod that I use, and it goes through bearing pillow blocks. So that's what the amp rotates on. That rod goes right down the center in between the two panels where the equipment is mounted. But it makes me tired just thinking about removing these things. So hopefully there's nothing wrong with the amps, and we'll test it in a little bit. They need to be clean too. I just want to quickly wipe the grunge off the glass so that we get a good vacuum in those handles, those suction cup handles. This thing has got decades of grunge. All right. See if we can do it without dropping it this time. You know, at the seminar last week, what the hell? I have like 2 right gloves. I get the wrong one. At the Mobile Solutions course last week, half the attendees were missing digits, fingers and toes. I'm not going to take those kind of chances. I need all of mine. So, safety first. Let's see if we can get a good vacuum on this thing. Now this time it's going to try let's do this. Let's throw that down for me. It'd be nice if I don't have to try sliding that thing again. Wow, this one's heavier, or I'm getting tired. You know, I may have already tried that. This glass seems thicker. It definitely feels heavier. I probably tried to counterweight it already. So at least I'm a consistent thinker. Oh yeah, it's a lot thicker. So I already tried it. I already tried using thicker glass on the signal processor side to balance the rotational component. You can see it's not near enough. So we're gonna have to come up with another solution. All right, let's take a look. Here's what we got. Now I can access, man, maybe I shouldn't put that stuff back on there. That's how these guys work. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna call it a day for today and come up with a better strategy. So what I'm gonna do in the next video, we're going to go through and test the amplifiers, test the signal processors. Actually, I'm gonna just yank these Haflers out and start putting the EPX2 in. Another thing I'd like to do is run additional speaker wires for the 3 24-inch subs. Right now, I'm bridging 2 channels in each of 3 of those Power 1000s into the single voice coil on the 24. So half of those amps is not even being used. I may recone the subs and use a DVC that would allow me to run the full Power 1000 into each sub. Or better yet, I could use half of each of those 6 Power 1000s to drive a coil. So that would distribute the load a lot better. So like the Power 1000 that's driving the mids or the tweeters, maybe we also have that drive half of a 24. So that's all I got for today. If you like these videos, don't forget to subscribe. I want to thank everybody for watching. Until next time, keep it loud and make me proud.